When we prepare for a journey, it helps to know where we're going, and aboard the discipleship, we are travelling to God's kingdom. In God's kingdom, everything God created flourishes. Everything lives its very best life, and each life rubs along with every other life in good and healthy ways. So before we finally arrive there, we need to prepare to live there. Jesus lived, teaching us the means by which to embrace a whole, flourishing life. As he did so, he invited us into a deeply loving, healing relationship that would be both the catalyst and sustaining fuel for that way of life, and gave us tantalizing glimpses of the kingdom to come. He expected us to be so energized and enlivened by it, we couldn't help but share the ways we'd come into relationship with God, with other people. With that same loving spirit in our sails, giving us further peaks of a hoped-for destination, our practices and teachings have developed to give a myriad of ways into relationship with God, shaping our way of life, to nurture our whole body, mind, heart and soul, with which to love God and neighbour, and so become people of God's kingdom. We haven't always got it right. At times we have disagreed to the point of separation and relationship breakdown. We've made idols of those means into relationship with God. We have neglected our whole created selves. But as we have travelled together this 2,000 years, we have often tried to correct our course. We have made statements, contracts or covenants about what is important to us and stood up for justice, compassion, love. We've reminded each other what our hoped-for destination is like, what the symptoms of healthy relationship and life look like. We've put in new gauges to make sure we're doing a good job of loving each other. The Mental Health Manifesto, in a tiny loving way, could help us do that again, to hold up how we do church against the hope of God's ultimate plan. First, the Manifesto makes a statement of why and what matters. Everyone is loved and valued, made in the image of God, a God who longs to see each person flourish. Everyone has mental health, whether you're an organist, a manager, caretaker, MP, celebrity or the preacher on Sunday. Mental ill health doesn't discriminate, so every organisation needs to stand up, tackle the stigma and prioritise mental health. We need to build diverse and inclusive communities to lead to a happier and healthier environment where people feel free to bring their whole selves. We need to treat mental and physical health equally. Strengthening how mental health is protected under health and safety legislation is a key part of this. Everyone has a right to mental health first aid, just as they do physical first aid. Then the manifesto outlines 6 research-backed ways to turn mental health awareness into positive action and develop a whole organisation approach to community mental health. 1. Produce, implement and communicate a mental health plan. 2. Develop mental health awareness among our community. 3. Encourage open conversations about mental health and the support available when people are struggling. 4. Encourage our communities to create and maintain good working conditions. 5. Promote effective relationships and collaboration. 6. Routinely monitor our community's mental health and well-being. Only people can create good, loving relationship, person by person. However, rules and contracts make a people's statement of intent something we can stand by together. Working out a plan to make that happen, then make sure we stay on course. We want to continue to become a community that enables each person to have life to the fullest, and so give more tiny, hope-filled glimpses of what it will look like when God's kingdom is finally and fully realised.
Wow, Rebecca, what a fantastic start to the manifesto. So we'd like to hear a little bit more. Can we quickly recap first on the Mental Health Manifesto, please?
You can. Okay, so we've got 6 points that the research into wellbeing and mental health awareness have identified. The first is that an organisation has a plan and puts that plan into action. The second is that the whole community has an awareness of mental health, and what that does is remove stigma, which is really important. And part of that, the third point, is that we encourage conversations about mental health. We all have mental health. Mental health isn't a bad thing. It's just mental health, like physical health is physical health. And then we work out where someone is struggling, where we can send them to. The fourth one is that we encourage our communities to have good relationships. If you want open conversations, you need to have good working relationships within your community. And then within that is decent collaboration. If we're going to encourage people to participate and be valued, we need to work out how to work really well together. And the last one is to be asking, how are you doing? Is to monitor and check in with people about their mental and about their mental health and about their overall well-being.
Okay.
So that's the 6 core standards. That was four that I held up. 6 core standards for the Mental Health Manifesto. We don't get paid to do maths.
Okay, so in the video we talked about a plan.
Yes.
So can you tell us, how do we start making this mental health plan?
Okay. What we don't want is a load of church councils groaning at this point in despair that in order to have good wellbeing community, we're going to add a load of work. So the first thing to know about the plan is that it's aligning what you're already doing with a value that says we want everybody to flourish. Okay. So within, say, the Methodist way of life, for example, there's already things within what we're committing to within our Methodist discipleship that allow people to have good relationships, to have good well-being, to be open and honest with each other. So it's not a matter of starting from scratch. We're already doing good things because we love people, because we've had years of training in safeguarding, because we've already got our health and safety things in place. So this isn't a huge body of work. It's about aligning things to a value that maybe we've not had previously and raising awareness around that. So that'll include removing stigma. We remove stigma by increasing awareness. If we understand something, then we're better able to talk about it. And dementia is a really good example in our church. We've got churches that are becoming dementia friendly. We've got churches that have got people training to be dementia friends. That's one mental health condition and diagnosis that the church is responding to because people we love have developed dementia. So it's those little things that as we move, our communities change and raise awareness. And that's one of the ways that we remove stigma. And that's all part of how we develop a plan, is going through a checklist, which is really unboring. And I hate to say it in Synod, but very unsexy. But to put in place, what are we already doing? And what can we change? And another thing we'll have And this is all resourced, so you can take it to church council. This was you walking to church council.
That's exactly how I walk. Yeah.
You take it to church council, and you've got your toolkit, and in your toolkit is a mental health plan checklist.
Okay.
Tick, tick, tick.
Okay.
So it's a tick box exercise because we love people. The other thing, another very dry, unsexy thing, is a stress risk assessment. Here is our community. Where are the points of pressure, of stress, of discord that we can be aware of, and what do we put in place to negate it, to relieve the stress, to avoid the stress in the first place? So it's another exercise in raising awareness so that we don't hit points where everything falls apart, or where people get so stressed that they have to take time off work. And we're talking work in terms of volunteers, because most people in church are volunteers. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that the workload they take on is any less stressful. So it's not exciting, the mental health plan, but what comes out of it, what comes out of a place where people have good well-being and are able to talk about mental ill health, is creativity and innovation and presence and engagement and good relationships. And that's where the excitement is. So we've got a little bit of dry work to do in order to lay a foundation for more creativity and fun and loving relationship.
Brilliant. I mean, you've talked about raising awareness. So how can we develop more raising of mental health awareness amongst our community, or really encourage those open conversations about mental health and the support that is available amongst people who are struggling? And we do know that people are struggling amongst this COVID situation.
This has been a really stressful year. Yeah. For a variety of different reasons. Isolation and loneliness alone, we know that in the wider community, mental health is going to be an issue. We know within our church community, mental health is an issue. And we don't just want to avoid mental health diagnosis. We want to promote a whole life flourishing way of being where you're working at your fullest potential. So it's not just about raising awareness, and that's going to be helpful. It's about promotion of well-being. So what we need is, for the World Domination Plan or the Mental Health Plan, are champions, are people that are going to step up and come and be part of the manifesto itself. So that is going to, in proper safeguarding way, have safer recruiting, because that matters. Because if somebody is going to have, say, occupational well-being, we want them to step into a role where they are supported, where their skills meet the role that they're coming to do, and where there is long-term support and development. So that's all going to be in place. So what we want are people that will come in, and if you were at the Wellbeing conference, which was absolutely brilliant, that the district safeguarding team ran, you'll know that we're not looking for superheroes. We're looking for people that can take the horse to water. You will not be force feeding the horse water. You will be recognising the symptoms of what it looks like when the horse is thirsty. I hope the analogy is working. Yeah. So a well-being champion will be trained as a mental health first aider. And that means that, like with a physical first aider, you train to recognise the symptoms of mental ill health. You know what the responses are that you can do in the immediate crisis, and where to sign people what the equivalent of 999 is when someone's having a mental health crisis. So you can help people, but you're not there to sort out the problem, because we're not training professional mental health practitioners. Sure. We're training people to be first aiders and then promote well-being.
Yeah.
So what does it then look like to live and have life in its fullest?
Wow, that sounds very exciting, and I'm sure we're going to get quite a few people who are interested in coming forward for that. So really, all that's left is to ask, how are we going to promote effective relationships and collaboration? And then obviously we need to routinely monitor our community's mental health and wellbeing. That's a challenge. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so we've got a couple of things lined up. What we've produced as a district team is a study guide.
Wow.
We can't have individual wellbeing if everybody doesn't also have that well-being. So we need to, with raising awareness about the issues around mental health, the symptoms of mental health, what it looks like to have well-being, what well-being even means, because for a lot of people it's a new term. So the study guide asks for 9 weeks of commitment.
Yeah.
And it looks at the 8 pillars of well-being. So this is going to test my memory: financial well-being, social well-being, emotional well-being, intellectual well-being, I've got to 4, occupational well-being, spiritual well-being. I wish I had a list in front of me. That's 6. There's another
environmental.
2 after that. Environmental well-being, which is a really critical one, because that brings in social justice. So if your well-being matters, and that means that you have your needs met, your emotional needs met, your physical needs met, your relational needs met, then my well-being also matters. And it can't come at the cost of the people, the environment around you. It also comes with an awareness that if my friend were to gain 10 pounds, I'm 56% more likely to also gain weight. So it's an awareness that there is a connection between each other. Please don't now gain 10 pounds. I promise I won't, if you don't. You've
got me interested. I can honestly say you have already got me in. I'm hooked in. I want to do this. So
there's an awareness that our well-being is interwoven with all the different things. As church, we can't just say we're just about spiritual well-being when God made us physical people. We could have stayed spirit, but we're not, we're physical. So it's all of those different things. So we've got a study guide that will be a free resource for every church to use. The Methodist, the Connectional Church, also offers training, which we'll then offer for free within the district. And that's positive working together. So that is growing through change and conflict, and bullying and harassment training, and safeguarding training. So it's that if we're part of a journey of transformation and development, one of the ways we do that is through training, ongoing learning. And if you've noticed within the NHS, there are 5 ways to well-being. And one of those is to continue learning. Within the Methodist way of life, it's to continue learning. So you might groan when we say that there's going to be some training, but actually it's all geared towards allowing people to engage with the material, engage with some changes, some shifts, some reorientation, so that as we move forwards, we're enabling everybody to have well-being and everybody to have opportunity when they're struggling to say, I need help, or I'm finding this really difficult, or today I've woken up and I'm feeling really anxious. And that way we start to see the gospel come to life, where you've got good relationships, you've got, love oozing. That was a disgusting metaphor. But that relation and that connection, that for me, that is the gospel, because God wants us to have life and have it to the full.
Brilliant. Thank you, Becca. And as we finish, just to say that all these resources are available.
They're all online. The
Yes.
study guide will be digitally online. It's a thick one, and it's thick because we're giving information. It's training. So when you come to it, please don't be scared. Print off a little bit at a time. As one of my favourite elderly people say, if you want to eat a ginormous cake, just nibble at it, and eventually you'll get there.
But hopefully people will be able to just download it and use it.
Download it, use
just
it,
use it on
ready to go.
this. Yeah.
Same with the
paperless.
toolkit.
Yeah.
And we'll also have all our training dates up on the website as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for speaking to me and telling Synod all about Mental Health Manifesto and Wellbeing, and we look forward to seeing that develop more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.